Shill media will be a beautiful beast to behold when it comes to Rise of Skywalker. Why is that? Well, because they can't be counted on to say what their Disney overlords they really want to hear. I mean, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes right now, you have a 62% out of 99 critics. The movie that comes in under this, the only one, Phantom Menace, even Solo scores higher. I mean, what does that say about how this movie is being received? So hey there. So today I want to return to that beautiful, beautiful world of trash fires. And this trash fire, it is just getting started. In fact, that's why I talk about this for a few days, because I'm really intrigued by what we're seeing here. Normally I like to mix content, but this stuff, it's absolutely astounding to watch because we're seeing in real time what transpires when you try to capitulate to this specific crowd, give them what they want, only to find out that, hey, our merchandise and on, it's not selling. See, if you look back to the first movie within this new trilogy, you see them giving a 93%. That's set there and holding. And even audiences, they've maintained 86%. Why not to? You got a remake for a movie. Basically, you've taken something, you've dumbed it down, but still, you get a remake with more pew pew, bang bang. So, of course, that's going to give those audiences, some of them, something at least. And then when you look at critics, yeah, the future is female. That tells you quite a bit. The future, the Force, and on. The next movie that we got, the subversive movie, the one that they absolutely adore, they gave it 91%. Now, audiences, they hated this movie. 43% right now, over 213,000 ratings. What's interesting about this is that Disney seems to figure out here that this will not sell merchandising. It doesn't matter what critics say, because ultimately critics get to see this stuff for free. And well, there's a lot of panic. You can see it behind the scenes. You can see it in the rushed movie that comes out, the movie that was essentially for no one. That leads to, well, this 62% currently. We don't have an audience rating yet. And some of those ratings, when you look at them, they read a little like this. Is this what audiences demand from franchise movies? Films that cater to what's comfortable or capitulates to the most unimaginative fans? Because going out and giving fans what they want, oh, that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing indeed. Now, before we look through the rest of this stuff and before we compare all of these other movies, I think this is kind of interesting to look through too. If you like this kind of content and you want to help an umbrella out, consider subbing to the channel, consider sharing videos, and consider interaction. Interaction just means plus wanting in the comment, saying interaction, anything at all drives this, liking too, and thank you in advance for listening to my spiel there. So if you look at the way that things have been rated, The Mandalorian right now is setting at 93%. Compare that to, again, that 62%, and keep that 62% in your mind going forward. Star Wars Resistance, 92%. Solo, something that was panned, and it was panned by the current year, folks. Yeah, still 70%. We may see this movie right now not reach that mark. I mean, can you imagine that, really? We already looked at Last Jedi, 91%. We see Rogue One at 83%. Force Awakens, already looked at 93%. Star Wars Rebels, 18%. Clone Wars, 94%. Here, the Clone Wars for 2008, 18%. The Episode 3, now we're talking about the earlier movies, 80% here. Then we have Attack of the Clones, 65%, still higher right now than Rise of Skywalker. Phantom Menace, 53%. I also found this really telling when I look at critics to note that 82% was the score for Return of the Jedi. Man, these people, they kill me sometimes. So when we're looking at these scores here, what I want to do is look at the negative ones to give you an idea of what's being said here. That way you can see what critics demanded from this. And again, how they're turning on their Disney overlords. So when you look at this, this. You have the accretion, a buildup of plot lines and characters that roll towards its conclusion by dint of momentum lent to it by all that's come before. Man, that is an unwieldy way of saying that. In PR, of course, they would say it that way. In the end, it felt like a film that has completely lost its nerve. The List. That tells you right there, we wanted that other movie. We wanted some subversive content. We wanted that thing out there that you gave us before. Give us back Rian Johnson. Don't actually make money with your franchise. We already ran over this one from Vox there, but you can see how negative this stuff comes in. It's kind of amazing there. It seems there was a strong idea of how to end the Skywalker saga, but they needed to fill in an hour before getting there. Now that's been a lot of what people have been saying. You have a lot of clunky exposition. You have a lot of thin characterizations. And for the first hour, this is a boring movie. I'll find out Thursday whether or not that's true. We'll actually see within that. So here, the National Review. It's time to freeze this franchise in carbonite for a while. Fun time statement there. Radio Times. And it's time to say goodbye to the Skywalkers and the story we've all been following for the past 4 decades. And it's not quite the going away party we might have looked for. Now, when you see that, I hate that idea. Oh, all of these movies, they're actually interconnected there. Yeah, sure they are. Sure they are indeed. I mean, if George Lucas was on it, we could actually come up with that and say the same storyteller came up with plots. But for Disney to take it over, make it a giant corporate film, I hate that idea. I love looking at it as 3 movies that do not intersect. Panders wildly, closing out this last chapter of the 9 films that have come to know as the Skywalker saga with a story that delivers to the faithful exactly the movie they wanted. Yeah, it's not really that at all either. People don't want this movie. Nobody seemed to want it. In its anxiety not to offend, it comes off more like fanfic than the creation of actual professional filmmakers. A bot would have been able to pull off a more surprising movie. A bot would have been able. Fun times with that. If you want fan service, you got it. 2 hours and 15 minutes of safe, unadulterated fan service. Again, you notice that word that keeps coming back up. Safe. Like I said, the reason these folks think like that is because they were given that movie, the last one, because otherwise, if you go back, this would have been the movie that they talked about. And wouldn't this movie have been the safe movie? I mean, what exactly did it do to earn that 93%? What was it doing different? Besides the Force is female, what did it add besides mixing up old characters, basically bringing current year ideas to the screen? What new thing did it bring up? But of course, we're going to ignore that idea. I mean, that's something that you throw right out the window. What's the point in introducing so many interesting new characters and pushing them through the blueprints of old adventures? Well, because none of them are interesting. J.J. Abrams' finale doesn't just directly refute many of the ideas of its predecessor. Its brand of nostalgia also feels more brazenly pandering than heartfelt. So, going out and trying to get rid of Episode 8 pretty much crash-landed Episode 9. Like I said, these people, they love Rian Johnson, but at the same time, they want to go in and they don't want to see what the last movie was. A movie that pandered to them, and how you have to erase that crap if you want to get back on that Disney money train. So after paying homage to everything that came before, this Star Wars ending is too safe landing of a massive pop culture starship, and a spectacular finale that misses a chance to forge something special. Rather than making a movie some people might love, Abrams tried to make a movie no one would hate, and as a result, you don't feel much of anything at all. Again, look at the places that are coming out and panning this to. I think that is absolutely amazing. The Rise of Skywalker isn't a great Star Wars movie, but that may be because there's no such thing. That seems to be the way we like it. Oh, so none of the movies are good at all. Well, that tells you quite a bit about the New York Times and A.O. Scott. All of those movies are really bad because, hey, that's the kind of movie that you want. Tells you something, doesn't it? Rather than making a movie, oh, we've already seen that. We've already seen that one return there. The galaxy far, far away is feeling tediously familiar already. The Rise of Skywalker is another of those zillion-dollar franchise films where I felt embarrassed for the actors, but pleased for them too, because the money is no doubt amazing and will presumably free them to do things they care about. That explains exactly why the actors were trying to get away from this movie too. If you look at their reactions for the last few weeks, what they're trying to say is, we're done finally. We're free from these overlords. Yes, we've gotten our money, but at the same time, we can finally walk away. Isn't that telling? It's no more useful use or appeal when examined in isolation than a spark plug or distributor cap. Wow, fun times there. This is no better than looking at a spark plug or a distributor cap, because it's that boring, that commonplace. What makes me crazy was threefold. One, the obnoxiously relentless fan servicing. Two, the unnecessary complication of everything. And third, killing drama with cheap gags. Oh wait, the last movie had a lot of cheap gags, but they loved that movie, because that movie was irreverent. Isn't that interesting too? Fitting into the trilogy that felt like a needlessly tacked on addition to a story that's already had a perfect ending, minus the updated swap for Christensen for Shaw. So it's already had the perfect ending, So anyway, you get the idea of what this goes through. You get that repeated many more times. I think that this stuff is fun to look through, and it'll be fun to look through as we go forward, because there is a lot of division that's coming up. Quite a bit of it. Some of this stuff, you can tell there are actually fans mixed into this. But again, the critics that work for places like Vox and others, the ones that would go out and shill for Kathleen Kennedy, they've turned on Kathleen Kennedy. What keeps her job in place now? What keeps her job in place indeed? But anyway, you tell me what you think about this. Now, closing this, I want to thank you for showing up. Thank you for participating. You make this stuff possible. These places, they forgot that. They try to return back to the fold, but you know what? Too little, too late. Serves them right, too. You want to go out, you want to insult fandom, you want to go and you want to say, hey, we're making subversive movies, we're going to gaslight fans and call you ists and phobes. You're going to fail. That's not science there. That's just something that anybody would expect. Anybody could relate, but Disney, they saw that license to print money, Star Wars, and they thought, we're too big to fail here. You know what? Nothing is. I don't want to be like these people, so if you want to help out with interactions, that's great, but you spending your time here, that matters, so I want to thank you for that. Thank you for showing up. We'll be doing this again soon. Thank you.